It is the September 17th edition of the PFF Forecast.
It's also still leg day.
Come on, man. Just got here. Just got started. We've got futures. We're going to talk some futures after week one. It's a lot of fun. And then we're going to figure out the lock of the week, talk about some of the games, some of the lines that have moved. And we're going to cap it off with something douchey that you did and a Quibi show because it's been too long. So let's rock.
Give the people what they want.
All right, let's start with some futures because there's one that I really want to talk about. It won't surprise anybody at all what it is. But you're writing up an article for the site. By the way, bunch of new stuff that's on the website that can help you, whether it's betting on futures or just betting on games. We now have the results of the simulation up on the website, the power rankings as well. So you get our probabilities for making the playoffs, for winning the division, for making the Super Bowl. So you can go figure your own out yourself as long as you have a PFF subscription, which, you know, is $40 well spent. So let's start with your Kansas City Chiefs, because I had a long conversation with your buddy Seren.
I was on his show today, and he was talking about you and how you were more resolute about the grade of Mahomes than maybe I was.
Oh, okay. So my whole point to him was like, buddy, let's care a little less.
I actually defended the grade. I said Watson threw a brilliant back shoulder throw that got dropped. So his contention was that all of Watson's plays were in garbage time, and I said no. If he hits Fuller on that first drive,
he had two throws before the game was out of question that were better than throws.
And Mahomes had an interception in the red zone that, I mean, would have made the game closer. I mean, the thing is like, Mahomes didn't play his best game, so like, why should we stroke his ego?
He's just trying to drive us apart, because that's literally exactly what I said. I was like, listen, buddy, they're about to play the Chargers. If either quarterback on the Chargers earns a grade as good as Mahomes' grade in that game, banner day, absolutely banner day. But
hang a banner.
So here's the interesting thing about Kansas City. We think about, the market is obviously moved by public sentiment, and all anyone is talking about is Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and I think they've jumped up in a lot of people's minds. And honestly, we have them sixth in PFF Elo. Like, they're a good team if Rodgers is playing that well, certainly. But doesn't it feel like the Chiefs, maybe because they played on Thursday, because Mahomes wasn't so brilliant, that maybe they aren't being given the value in the market that they should be?
There is a big time resulting situation going on. So currently on FanDuel, it's different actually at BetCris, which I know is sharper. They're giving Kansas City lower payouts to win the Super Bowl. But currently on FanDuel, the Ravens and the Chiefs are co-favorites at plus 550 to win the Super Bowl. And this wasn't always the case during the offseason. So here's what I would say. The AFC West was 2 points away from being undefeated in week one. And right.
Stop.
And the Ravens demolished the Browns team that didn't come to play. Sorry, Tyler, our friend and producer.
Best producer in the game.
So so obviously people are going to say, oh, look, like the Ravens obviously answered a lot of questions. Lamar threw the ball outside the pocket or outside the numbers, all this stuff. Kansas City sort of ho-hum exactly what we expected. Okay, pull back a sec. Chargers almost lost to the Bengals. By the way, we got that lock of the week. The Denver Broncos should have beaten. Tennessee played, a C- game the other day?
I thought Gostkowski was phenomenal.
Yeah, so they can't even win at home. They can't win at Denver home, win a game where another team plays horse shit. And then the Vegas Raiders almost lost to Teddy Bridgewater and a rebuilding Carolina team. So Kansas City's path to the 1 seed is still very, very easy. Now, Pittsburgh on Monday night. Now, you have to regress. Both of us think the Giants are going to suck. But they were pretty impressive for them, right? Mm-hmm. The Ravens' path to the 1 seed in the AFC is extremely difficult, given that they have Pittsburgh and an improving Bengals team and a Browns team that I don't think is dead at this point. Kansas City plus 550 is still a good value.
I agree with you. I have a hard time. The Ravens-Chiefs game is going to be fantastic. I really hope that both those guys are healthy. And look, I really want to be pro Lamar Jackson every time I can be, because there's so many people out there that are stupid and are anti Lamar Jackson. I do want to like see him throw the ball when losing against a team that is a real team. You know, like, okay, that's fine. Before I'm ready to vault them, not before I'm saying they're good, but before I'm saying I'm ready to vault them to the Chiefs level. This is the best team in the NFL.
Yep.
And I think what we learned from the Kansas City Chiefs, so Patrick Mahomes did not have a single big time throw in that game. He did not complete a pass more than 20 yards down the football field for only the 4th time in his career. And we saw the Chiefs put up 34 points on a real football team. Now, Titus Howard, you may digress, but like, to me, that says something about the floor for the Kansas City Chiefs that I'm willing to buy into. I do have a question for you. So Gostkowski goes out and misses all those field goals, right?
Stop.
By the way, I have Tennessee -2.5.
Now, if you would have listened to us earlier in the offseason when we said Tennessee +2.5, you got to the window. Even if,
look, the super contest doesn't allow me to do that.
Yeah. But
it was brutal. I should have just gone with Arizona. I can't. You know what's frustrating is when you make a decision based on a half point. You're like, look, if it was 7, I would have taken Arizona, but it's 6.5. So let's go find something
the
else.
Wrong half point.
And it's like that's.
No, I mean, you made the right choice. Here's the thing. Arizona doesn't cover the spread against a football team that plays well.
You're just doing this.
Like the Niners.
We'll talk about the Niners here in a second. But do you have an analogy for what Gostkowski did? Because they end up winning the game. He hits the game winner, misses all those ones.
Remember when we picked the over in the Lions Green Bay game? It was like 51, and Mason Crosby missed 4 field goals and an extra point.
Yeah.
And he kicked I'd call it a backdoor field goal when you're down 10, and it got over the it felt like that when you're like, but this time it actually didn't get us to where we needed to go. The AJ Brown play is till like he's open. Tannehill missed him. It just pisses me off.
I have 2 analogies for you. The first is the guy at the bar who has no conscience, and he's just like, look, I could go 0 for my first 6. All that matters is that at some point I make one through the uprights, and that's when I'm going home. It's a victory for me if I just make one. I think that's the analogy I'm going to stick with. The other one was it's like being a venture capitalist. You just go out and you're like, look, I'm just, I just need to hit one of these bad boys.
Holy shirts and pants, the one that actually makes it.
Okay, I want to talk about my Seahawks now because I just keep convincing myself more and more. I tweeted this out today. By the way, I think it's weird, and I do this, I'm just acknowledging that I do this. I think it's weird when someone goes, so I tweeted this out earlier. Like anyone really gives a shit that you tweeted it out earlier. I said that 6
times on Seren's show today.
Go subscribe to my timeline and then don't listen to the podcast, because clearly I'm just regurgitating all this stuff I tweeted out. But I was rewatching Seattle, Atlanta, in one sense to try and convince myself that the Falcons are going to rise from the dead, but also because I'm really excited about the Sunday night game. I try and rewatch that game a couple of times for both teams before the matchup. And Seattle comes out, they run play action on the first play of the game, sack, 2nd and long. And if I were watching this game live, you would have gone, here comes a run for 5 yards. It's going to be 3rd and 13, and we're going to see Russ, try and perform a miracle. And they throw the ball. And they throw it again, and they throw it again. And I was like, man, I know what ends up happening in this game, so I'm resulting a little bit, but there's such a difference when you have faith in Russell Wilson getting 3 cracks at you throwing the ball than it is 1. Like, it's a magical difference.
Well, did you hear what Raheem Morris said? He said he takes the blame for the defensive play calling because he expected Seattle to run more, and he wasn't prepared for them to pass. So would you say that Pete Carroll's just been setting up the pass for 2.5 years?
2.5 years.
Yeah. Good for him. I mean, this is a year they could actually win the Super Bowl. So
think about this.
You're to the point we're about to make.
2nd downs after a sack. It's sacked on 1st down. That's 2nd down. You'll love this. The Seahawks over the previous 3 seasons then threw the ball less than 70% of the time. It's 28th in the league. However, However, so they were about like 68%. There is one team that is at 38% pass play rate on a second down after a sack. Who do you think that might be?
Minnesota. Yeah.
So anyways,
you don't want to anger Zimmer, guys.
Back to my point. Seattle is plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl, but they're also basically plus 200 to win the NFC West. And this is where I want to come back to what I've talked about with the Niners for a while, defensive regression. What does that mean? Well, I mentioned Richard Sherman, and he had that I've got a chance to win a Super Bowl last year thing where it was like mind over matter. He's one of those guys, right? He's like kind of a Kobe Bryant type. His mentality can take him above any sort of doubt that he has. Now all of a sudden he's got this foot thing. I was talking to our buddy Mario Pilato, who does injury analysis for us, was a strength and conditioning trainer for the Panthers back with Cam Newton. And he was saying that his thought is that it's soreness in the Achilles, and that this is you don't want to rupture it again. And
it's not a muscle, you can't warm it up.
So this is exactly what we're talking about with, like, Richard Sherman can still be at the peak of his ability, but athletically there's a chance. And now you've got Ahkello Witherspoon, and now you've got Deebo Samuel, and now you've got George Kittle, and all of a sudden you've got Jimmy Garoppolo out there with Raheem the Dream Mostert, and he's their best receiver.
It shows how limiting tight end play is, right? So when the tight ends come out in war, they're a lot weaker. Like Travis Kelce, when the Chiefs were without a wide receiver, was awesome, but that offense was limited in value. The middle of the field is too muddy, right? And those guys don't make plays on the outside as much as a wide receiver would. It shows the limitation. Now, Kittle was also hurt in the second half of the game. So when you look at this, right, so they're on FanDuel. Now, this isn't, the sharpest place, but Seattle's 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. So you think that's one in 15 is basically the probability. That's about 6.7%. We have them at 9%. So there's an edge there. And then to win the NFC West, they are currently co-favorites with San Francisco at plus 195. We would make it 46, which is
33 versus 46.
Yeah, so we would make it plus 117, which that's a lot. And the thing is like when you look at, so I tweeted this out.
Now you're thinking about it.
The thing is when Ahkello Witherspoon's hurt, Richard Sherman's hurt.
Yeah,
all those guys are hurt.
Witherspoon thing I don't think hurts them.
All those guys are hurt. And I tweeted out, I said, this is the fragility of building around an average quarterback. The Seahawks are not building around an average quarterback.
I hate you.
They're not. The Seahawks are. Seahawks are impervious to a lot of this stuff.
Can I argue with you there for a second?
Okay.
It's not. It's the margin for error. There's nothing wrong with trying to build around Jimmy Garoppolo, but you can't do it. You can't make mistakes. You can't avoid having a really deep secondary. You can't go spend a first-round pick on a defensive interior lineman.
Who said that they should draft corners? We did.
I preached. I said I need corner. I was doing cartwheels down Vine Street with the cokeheads and the meth dealers when they traded for that pick, because I was like, I'm getting a cornerback and a wide receiver. And I love Javon Kinlaw, but you see what I'm talking about now, because if you lose a defensive lineman, there's only 4 of those guys up there.
But I see the situation as being flawed too, though, because you say there's no room for error. I think it gives a little bit too much control to the people making the decisions, because you can't control injuries, right? You can't control if you build through your secondary, for sure. But it's not like the Niners sloughed off at wide receiver, right? They drafted Ayuk in the first round.
Absolutely.
They drafted Samuel in the second round. Hurd, was a player that they bought into. Pettis was a high draft pick. In many ways, they didn't make errors. They got unlucky, right? And the unluckiness affects teams like the 49ers way more than it does the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, you can go read the rest of the futures. There's a couple more in there. Hint, one of them might or might not have to be with the hottest quarterback on the planet. So, and it's not Jimmy G. All right, let's get into lock of the week discussion. So if you're listening to this for somehow the first time, I don't know how that could be, that you can't have been a fan of this podcast for life. But We go over all of the next week's games after Sunday Night Football, deliriously late at night with the hope that we catch the best numbers. I then go home and I bet on them deliriously. I don't even remember what I bet on. I wake up the next morning after a couple hours of sleep and try and figure it out. Now we're going to try and go back and we're going to pick our lock of the week. Last week we did a tease with the Bengals +3 out to +9 and the Packers from +2.5 to +8.5. And as you mentioned, it was a great tease because one of those sides would not have covered. It would have pushed the Bengals lost by 3. And so made a nice donation. As I've said before, all of the money that we make off these, we're going to donate. So here we go. Is there a game that you would like to start with?
Mm-hmm. This last year, our lock of the week in week 2 was Jaguars +9 against Houston on the road. Jaguars are now, this number has moved. I believe it started at 10.5, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's currently 9. The Minch on the road, though, and in a place where I don't know if they match up the best with Tennessee because they're not all that strong up front and all this kind of stuff. So this game I like in a couple different ways, right? A couple different avenues here. Obviously, Jaguars +9 seems like a play to make. Over 42, over 42.5, depending upon where you look. I think the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars defense is not very good. I think it thrived off of Phillip Rivers' ineptitude, and even then, that game went over 44. Right? I mean, we kind of had a shade on the under by the time everything was said and done. Green line sweated it out. It almost covered. Tennessee on offense, I think, showed me a little bit of something against Denver. Tannehill made plays when he had to, when he had to be in the drop back area. I kind of like over in this game.
Okay. I can get on board with the over. I can also get on board with Jacksonville +9. Now, I know we're not getting the best of that number, but I will make a couple of cases. We talked about how, look, the Jaguars drafted it with high variance in mind. And we saw that high variance come through with C.J. Henderson being a stud in that game. He was tremendous. And I don't know why we're so impressed with Tennessee running the ball 31 times with Derrick Henry and really not doing a lot against a if the Broncos defense was absolutely terrible, would you be surprised come the end of the season? Because I wouldn't.
Their defense is okay, though. I mean,
based on what?
I thought that they did a really good job of Derrick Henry, the majority of his rushes were against 7 or fewer men in the box. They played nickel on early downs against 2 tight ends that the Tennessee had, and they just made plays. Now, Tannehill spread the ball around really well. I mean, Jonnu Smith had a good game. Adam Humphries had a good game. Corey Davis had some breakout game for once in his life. And then A.J. Brown came on at the end. Look, my biggest worry is the defense for Tennessee, because if Jerry Jeudy hangs on to 1 or 2 balls, that game's over, right? Like he was having his way. And when you look at Jacksonville's side, to your point about the variance, Laviska Shenault, right? DJ Chark, Tyler Eifert, tight end. Like I think we're going to be looking at scoring in this game.
Okay. So But
I would look, if I had to take this game against the spread, I would of course take Jacksonville. I just don't know if I like which play I like more. Okay. I kind of like the over more than I like Jacksonville.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it and you go, okay, well, do I believe that Jacksonville can keep this close? Then you figure both teams maybe have to throw, Tennessee has to throw a little bit more. I don't know.
Jacksonville had 8 pressures all game. Eight collectively among their linemen. So they pressured Rivers fewer, less than or equal to 8 times.
Now, and I mean, Indy has a fantastic pass protecting line. Okay. I like both those sides. Let's keep that in mind. And let's move to a game that is happening probably, if you're listening to this on Thursday, tonight, which is Bengals-Browns. Now, I want to get your take on the following. How much do you hate fading the Browns at the bottom of the market?
If there existed a bottom,
this is it.
No, it might not be.
You don't think this is the bottom?
Are the Browns better than the Chargers? I don't
know. I mean, their win totals weren't that far apart.
No.
So here's my rationale. Better quarterback, getting points. And it's not just 3, it's 6.
Yeah. My concern here, if I'm betting Cincinnati, is if you look at the highest graded players for Cleveland, Larry Ogunjobi, Malcolm Smith, now he's a linebacker, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Sheldon Richardson, Jordan Elliott, Vincent Taylor, Adrian Claiborne, Stone Takitaki, and then Myles Garrett. If the Bengals if the Bengals are gonna have a chance tomorrow, tonight, whatever, Zach Taylor is going to have to embrace the trenches don't matter approach that we think of, which is move the quarterback, throw quickly, take advantage. Like, dude, their secondary, Andrew Sendejo was about as garbage as I've ever seen a player.
Yes. But, okay, so here...
So the question is, are the Bengals, because the Bengals didn't do a ton to help Burrow protect himself the other day.
However, maybe they learned on that last drive.
If they come out and throw the way they did on the last drive, the Bengals are going to be tough to beat by anybody this year. But the question is do they do that? Because I saw a lot of Joe Mixon running up the middle, and that makes me worried. So Denzel Ward, for example, 3 for 3 for 37 yards into his coverage. Obviously, Carl Joseph was pretty bad as well, and then you had Greedy Williams is hurtish. I don't know exactly what the designation for him is, but like, you're talking about a defense with not a great secondary. Mm-hmm. I have to be convinced that the Bengals are smart enough to take advantage of that. And the Chargers have a good secondary. So maybe it was just one of those situations where they needed guys to get down the field. But I need to see more of the last drive for the Bengals than I saw the rest of the game. Because the front for Cleveland is as good as the one for the Chargers. And I think Cleveland's offense at its top end is way better than the Chargers. I mean, Tyrod is kind of just
but its top end is like mythical at this point.
Right.
What is their top end? Where does it exist?
Chargers the Bengals played okay defense in that game. I don't think that they were egregious. I thought that their secondary was improved. If I look at Jesse Bates had a terrific game. Mackenzie Alexander played really well. So those are players that they need to play well. And like you look at that, okay, William Jackson matches up pretty well against a guy like Odell. Mackenzie Alexander matches up pretty well against a guy like Jarvis Landry. Bates is good in the middle of the field and probably will pick off Baker, who's staring down everything. So
death stare.
You can convince me about the Bengals. I just wonder if this is a game where it's similar, 3 years ago when we had the London game, Jacksonville against Baltimore, where you're like, well, if they can block up front without Marshall Yanda, and then it's like the guy's got no freaking chance the whole game.
They can't. Okay. Give me your next one.
Okay. So let's look at not going Falcons.
Good. Save them for me.
Can you make a case for Carolina in Tampa +9?
Okay. Here's my question. Can you take anything away from two of the worst teams in the NFL putting up points on one another? Because that to me was what Carolina and Oakland was. It was two really terrible teams. The Oakland Raiders can't cover anybody.
Yeah, the run defense for the Panthers got a 28.6 grade. Pass rush got a 55.2, and coverage got a 53.3. It was not a good performance by the rebuilt Carolina Panthers defense.
No, it was not.
They collected 4 total pressures collectively out of their defense
in a shocking turn of events. I don't know. I mean, here's the one thing that I would say that worries me a little bit is I thought Tom Brady made some really nice throws down the football field against a Saints team that actually has players that can play defense. Carolina does not. And so my thought would be that those are going to be touchdowns in this game, and it's 42 donut.
Yeah, but I think the Raiders got as much juice out of the orange as you could, though. I mean, Jacobs broke 10 tackles. Carr made plays down the field to Henry Ruggs. He made plays down the. I mean, does this one come down to how healthy Mike Evans is?
Well, and Godwin's in concussion protocol.
Without receivers, it's tough to win in football, as we found out last week with the Niners. So, is that something that we want to think about? Because look at these cornerback grades. I mean, you look at Rasul Douglas played okay in 51 snaps. Deontay Jackson. So Deontay Jackson only played 11. Was he injured? Because Troy Pride had a 29.9 grade, and something called Corn Elder had a 29.3 grade.
You're ruthless.
So I'm a little bit like, so we're basically betting on Bridgewater keeping it close, which he almost always does. It's just, does he have the horses if they get behind? So let's say the same script is flipped and Tampa gets up 24-7 on Carolina. Is Teddy capable of?
My answer to that. Yeah. I'm willing to consider it because I think it is a really large number. Let me give you another one before I get to my two, and one of them you've already mentioned. Denver is a 7.5 point underdog in Pittsburgh. Okay, here's my rationale. Drew Lock didn't look great. However, no Courtland Sutton. I thought Jerry Jeudy, he dropped a couple of passes. If it hadn't been for that, he would have had a monster day. We know drops are unstable. And I thought, Pittsburgh got to play against a Giants team that really can't block.
The Giants are the worst team in the NFL. I'm saying this right now.
They're really bad. So to me, this is now Pittsburgh playing a real NFL team in a place where they normally have fans and a pretty good home field advantage, and they won't. And 7.5, I like Denver.
Garrett Bowles, Dalton Reisner, Elijah Wilkinson, Lloyd Cushenberry, and Graham Glasgow all graded above average last week against a Titans team that has Jadeveon Clowney.
Whatever that's worth.
I don't mind it. Look, I'm a Pat Shurmur guy. Pat Shurmur did a really good job of putting Drew Lock in positions to succeed, and he failed at times. Yeah. He also tried to back Jake Butt's ass into the end zone on 4th and 1.
I know.
So incredible. So I don't understand. Maybe he learned, right. I think the Steelers, when they want to be, can be efficient. But look, like Denver has this is another question. So like AJ Boye's injury, where does that leave us, right? Because we had a Roudier. So that the Broncos just placed AJ Boye on IR. They had Bryce Callahan, who is a good nickel. They had the Roudier or whatever that guy's name is, who got an interception that was called back. Do they have the horses? They have Kareem Jackson as well. Like, because Pittsburgh's receivers are good against a dog shit Giants team. They only went after Bradbury once and he knocked it away. They went after the other stiffs on that defense and did great. Can the Broncos provide some resistance? I think so.
Okay. Your next one.
Okay, that one was one I had.
Ooh. Makes me feel good.
I'm going to revisit one we talked about on Sunday.
Okay.
The football team. Going on the road. Now, we rode up 7. It has moved to 6.5. Shop. Total on this game, 47.5, which I'm going to be honest, I think is a little high.
Yeah, man. Like,
can we pause for a second? Kyler Murray was every bit the guy I was worried about on Sunday.
Yeah, it's weird. I've seen multiple segments on different talk shows being like, is Kyler Murray a top 5 quarterback?
Best.
was like, wait, did you watch that game?
Did you watch the game at all?
I mean, I get that he ran. I understand that. But if you watch that game and you said, man, I mean, he force-fed it to DeAndre Hopkins.
I've never felt less good about a cover ever. Like that, they turn the ball over inside their own red zone, like the own 20, right? They missed 2 field goals. They gave up a big play. They gave up a 75-yarder. The question that you have to ask is Washington smart enough to take Antonio Gibson, right? To take Peyton Barber and run the arrow routes against Devondre Campbell, Isaiah Simmons, and Jordan Hicks, because they got twisted in that game.
Torched.
And when I'm looking at that, like, I mean, Isaiah Simmons had a 27.1 grade in his first game.
You know, he did not look like he knew what he was doing.
Buda Baker graded well. Byron Murphy finally graded well. But a lot of that was that they didn't have receivers, right? I mean, Terry McLaurin is the best receiver that's going to be on that, you know, on either side of the field, I feel like, in that game, other than maybe Hopkins. And, like, I just don't know if they're going to be able to cover that. Now, on the other side, you know, Chase Young had 4 pressures, but one thing about the Washington football team that I really liked was they had players in the back end that played well.
That actually played well.
Yeah, Fabian Moreau at an 86th grade. Jimmy Moreland and Ronald Darby played fine. And here's the thing, like, the teams that scare me in the passing game throw the ball over the middle of the fucking field from 10 to 19 yards. Kyler Murray does not.
Yeah, they did not. I like this one quite a bit. And I hate, you know, losing that half point. Just know, hey.
Well, I mean, we already wrote it up, and we can
to us
just.
on Sunday.
But it could be. I mean, we have some teaser protection there, because, well, not really.
Okay,
you can go up to 12.5, which
let
gets
me
you crossing a few numbers, but
I have one that I'm really excited to get to, but before I get there, let me just dip my toe in, just the tip. Just for a second.
Just to see how it feels.
Just to see how it feels. The Atlanta Falcons.
No. Look, no way. I can't do this. Here's the reason why. I can't do it. Here's why. Dallas played a horseshit game on Sunday. Like, bad.
Yeah,
and they ran the ball too much. But at the same, like, and it didn't work. And I'm feeling like McCarthy is going to be a guy that learns from this. He went for it on a 4th down, which was actually, after I ran the numbers, a pretty, like, even split, which he went on the aggressive side. It wasn't a slam dunk to go for it, and he did it anyway. Atlanta doesn't have the players to cover the Dallas, like, at least Jalen. So I don't like the Rams' depth, and I don't like the fact that Dallas threw to Ramsey's side to Amari Cooper all the time. I don't get it, but there's no one on the Falcons defense that's that good, so they're not going to run into that.
Okay. Let me make a counter argument.
Okay.
You know what looked really bad in that game?
The Dallas defense.
The Dallas defense was terrible.
Yeah. So you think the Falcons can score with them?
I think the Falcons can put up
40,
all the points.
We actually shade over here. It's not enough to bet, but it might be something that everybody liked the over on Sunday Night Football, and of course it didn't go over. But I think this one's only 52.5. It's only a point higher than that over, and the Falcons are not gonna fuck around and run the ball as much as the Rams did.
Do you think there's blowout potential in this game?
Yeah.
They're just testing the waters.
Why do you don't think there is?
I don't know. I am trying to be diplomatic with how I talk about the Falcons. Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley are going to be a real problem for the Dallas Cowboys. They can't cover those guys. They can't. Period. And the Seattle Seahawks are a really good team. And I don't know. To me, the Falcons are a value here, even though it may hurt quite a bit.
No, I like them as I'm. Here's my thing. I might bet them myself I might
just can't.
But I can't put other people through that
other
misery.
people through the misery. Okay, all right.
You know what I mean? Like,
onward we move.
and they're going to cover this because we're going to decide not to do anything with it. But okay, here's my last one. The Detroit Lions.
Oh, great. So you just sat here and berated me for trying to convince you to take the Falcons, and you're going to go with the
new
Detroit.
Falcons.
Exactly.
Do you know, by the way, the Eagles are the new Falcons. Are we on?
They're not even the new Falcons.
They're just bad.
They're just the Eagles.
Yeah, they're just brutal.
Both birds fly in the same disastrous air. It's a joke. The Lions, 6-point underdogs in
This is the
Green
exact
Bay.
same spread that we bet them opening on Sunday or on Monday Night Football last year. Closed at 4. They lost by 2 or 1. I can't remember. They covered it on a field goal at the end. 93% of the cash is on Green Bay in this game.
I mean, does that surprise you at all?
No. Green Bay is – this is a classic overreaction. A classic overreaction.
And you knew it was going to happen. Everyone and their mother is having – now, there's no reason not to because Aaron Rodgers was absolutely sensational in that game.
Yeah.
He was incredible. And if you want to read about – I think it's really interesting to look at where he was good. We talked about this with Aaron Nagler when he came on, where he thought Aaron Rodgers needed to improve or could improve to get back to where he was before. And that's exactly what he did in this game. He was in rhythm, as good as he has ever been, and actually threw out in rhythm more than he ever has. It's usually the opposite for him. He's the guy that's always throwing out of rhythm because he waits and waits and waits and tries to make magic happen. And here's why I like this. The thesis so we talk all summer about, hey, here's what we believe. We do all these studies. We run all these simulations. It's like, okay, we think these teams are going to suck. All right. Who are two teams we just talked about inherently? We talked about the Rams because they just beat the Cowboys. And we're now sort of talking about the Vikings because they just lost to the Packers. We think both those teams are bad. Okay. So the Packers go out there and steamroll this Vikings team. They
also gave up 34 points to a Vikings team that's cheeks. I'm sorry.
Kirk Cousins, 4th highest graded quarterback.
Yeah, and like second in accuracy percentage, accuracy plus, other than Rodgers.
And the Lions here, you got to figure it out, right? Like, you have got to come out and just try and put up as many points as you possibly can. So I like this one quite a bit. I probably, if I bet it, can't watch the game though.
Here's what I'm worried about as lock of the week material. Lions injury report Wednesday. Kenny Golladay, no practice.
It's bad.
Halapoti Vitae, who I call Big V, no practice.
How does he respond when you call him that?
Desmond Trufant, no practice. Darryl Roberts, who was replacing the IR'd Justin Coleman, no practice. Jeffrey Okudah did practice. If they don't have players in the secondary, it's a Minnesota Vikings situation. So, but at the same time, like at 6, I can see Detroit keeping it close by just scoring with Green Bay, as long as Golladay practices. Now we don't know, we haven't seen him play yet, and Detroit against a decent Bears defense put up 23 points the first 3 quarters without him. I think the Detroit Lions offense relative to Green Bay Packers defense is underrated here. I just don't know if it's enough for me to go full on lock situation.
Okay. All right.
So where are we going here?
Let me give you one more.
Oh, okay.
I would be curious as to whether you can find me a second leg for this first leg.
Okay.
In your favorite thing, which is a teaser. By the way, you did a very nice explanation of when teasers work in the PFF Discord, which I got to be honest with you, until a year ago, I didn't know what a Discord was. And now we've got...
a discourse in a Discord.
Now we have hundreds and hundreds, maybe it's thousands of people talking in this Discord, and it's a lot of fun. You should come hang out and talk football. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, this is a teaser unprotected line, by the way. So you're going to tease them down to 2.5.
Tell me, come on, man.
I like it. We teased Chiefs Niners in the NFC title game or the title game week last year. Okay, there are two possibilities. I want to see what you think. The Miami Dolphins, which we wrote about, you can tease them up to 11.5 at home against the Bills. Similar to Bengals, I would say. The Miami struggled with the running quarterback and all that kind of stuff, but they still only lost by 10.
Total in that game is, by the way,
41. It's a perfect teaser. It's a perfect teaser leg. That's what I'm saying. Because here's the thing: if the game plays out, and we actually have our total would be 40.5. So
we think it's going under, if anything.
So if this game is lined at 41, and if it's a 10-point game, then you're talking about what, 24-14, 27-17. Like that's kind of like what that between those two things is what it looks like. So, and that's exactly the game the Dolphins played last week against the Patriots, a team weirdly similar to Buffalo. Here's what I'll also say about the Bills. The Bills blitzed the Jets a lot last week, as our colleague Timo pointed out in one of our Slack channels. Buffalo doesn't necessarily have the horses. They don't have 5 secondary players that I'm scared of. They have 3. And the Dolphins have, wide receivers and tight ends that can make plays. So I think they stay in this one. I mean, obviously, so here's the plus side for this side.
By the way, did you have another one, or is this the only one?
Well, let me finish. So Fitzpatrick threw 3 interceptions on Sunday, and they lost by 10 in a very low scoring game.
Yep.
My worry with them is always that he'll turn the ball over, and then you're just bailing on this game right away. But he did that the other day, and they were still good enough to keep it close because their defense is not a disaster. That's one leg that I like, and honestly, I bet that with the Giants teased up to. And this has moved a little bit. Where's the Giants game? Giants at Bears. Again, another game. This is lined at 42.
You didn't even hear what I said, did you?
No.
You said this has moved a little bit, and I said that's what she said.
Okay. That's good.
There are like 7 people in the world that find my jokes funny.
No, I thought it was good. I just didn't hear it. I'm old, It's like, so this one you could get. And actually, you could so our line is 5.5, and I misspoke with the Dolphins. We would make the line 5.5 for the Giants versus the Bears. It's currently 6, so if you tease this up, it's up to 12. There's not a ton of value on that, right? Because not that many games land. Like it's basically equivalent. I don't think the Bears should ever be favored by near a touchdown against another NFL team. So that's like my point here. But then I think if you believe that's true, you should just bet the Giants against the spread more than anything.
And you're just not going to mention the Falcons.
The Falcons game is not a teasable game, I don't think, because the total's 52.5.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there's
I'm trying to end our Sunday in pain.
The Falcons
trying to create good content.
Here's
for
the
people.
thing: we almost went Falcons on the second leg of that teaser, which at the time, now the Falcons closed as 1-point favorites, but at the time they were 1.5-point dogs. That would have got up to 7.5, 8, right?
True.
And they couldn't cover that leg of the teaser because Ryan threw a pick in the back of it was like his one bad throw all game, and like that's like that level. Though that set of outcomes is just too broad for me, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm trying to look at any others here. I mean, total in Steelers Broncos is low, but I don't know. It's already 7.5. Like how much?
You're not
value?
getting a ton of value through 7, 8, 10, and 11.
Yeah.
13.
Okay, so I will throw out then. That teaser, I'm down with the Dolphins plus 11.5 and the Chiefs minus 2.5.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the Dolphins at home aspect of it. I really like the I really obviously the Chiefs have lost one game to the Chargers since 2013, so it'll be tough for
is there a single game that you like more?
No, I mean, we haven't talked about Houston, Baltimore. Even though I think that there is some value in Houston, I want to stay away. I can't get in front of Baltimore anymore. And the only other one that I like is the football team, but we already wrote about that. So and the numbers
and
bad.
you should have gotten it.
And the numbers bad. So do we want to revisit Jacksonville, the first one we talked about?
Man.
So with Jacksonville at +9 and a total of 42.5, like there's not a ton of teaser value either, but you could cross it all the way to 15, which gets you across 14. But that's, not that many games actually land on those.
And plus, if they're getting blown out that much, it's going to keep going.
I mean,
up.
we had the total at 42. Let me look at where Bet Chris is at, because I got it at 42 earlier, so there's moving it. It's moving in the over direction.
Right.
42.5 might be a little bit too much.
While you look that up, I can just tell you right now what all of this talk is going to cause me to do, which is going to be to bet a lot this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll probably have some ridiculous parlay that may allow us to go to Vegas and spend a ridiculous amount of money on like one meal and one hotel room. Yep. But I like the teaser, and I like the teaser because I want to bet on Kansas City this week. I just think there's value there. We talked about their value in the futures market right now. And I just think that, dude, Patrick Mahomes, I always bring up the human element. Patrick Mahomes is a competitive motherfucker. Sorry.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
The humanity.
Him seeing Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson light it up week 1. Everyone's talking about them. Dude, it
might be a no-doubter.
They are going to fillet this defense.
Well, and Tyrod Taylor, come on.
Just stop.
Okay, so let's go with that teaser. I like that.
Lock it up.
Here's one. Speaking of parlays, you can hold me to this because, damn it. So if you we liked, for example, the Titans win total. Mm-hmm. I have an ungodly amount of money on Titans over 9, Titans over 8.5. If you do as well, here's a parlay I like for you. Jacks +9.
I just got
over 42.
I just got a vision of you selling me a car.
I actually was not allowed to bet
if you have a kid coming.
I was actually not allowed to bet
and
Jacksonville +323 and over 42.5, which I bet would go off amazing odds. But I will take. So there's a situation obviously where the Titans win by a small amount and it goes over like we think it's going to, and if they actually were to lose the game outright, mm-hmm. you obviously get paid as well. And your Titans bet is still not dead in the water. You would have hoped that they would have started 2-0, but right. Still an idea that's worth exploring.
I like it. Okay, so the lock of the week, in summation for all of you out there that are writing this down, is the Chiefs teased from 8.5 to 2.5, with the Miami Dolphins teased from +5.5 to +11.5. Okay, you did something douchey this week, and our rules that you've got to tell me about it.
So last year during college football Saturdays, I would normally eat too much. This year, I said I was not going to eat too much during college football Saturdays. So what did I do? I did order juice online from a juicery for college football Saturday. It wasn't even a full college football Saturday, and right. I will say it was really fun watching a lot of green line picks hit. But I also didn't compound the stress of watching those games with bad food, so that was good. Good on me.
It is really good on you. And by the way, if you had polled a group of people that knew us both and said one of these two bought juice online, I would win 100% to 0.
You would go off as -900.
I mean, are you kidding me? It is a great point though, which is if you're just going to gorge yourself and have the potential to lose a bunch of bets. So here's what I do. Let me tell you my secret. You can get away guilt-free eating everything you want so bet some games early and then say to yourself, look, depending on what happens here, I'm going to make my food choices later. And that way, you never get yourself in a...
Me and Austin almost always have Chipotle after the 1 o'clock games, which is...
on Sunday. And I don't know how you do it. I have no idea. Okay. I did nothing douchey this past week, so I have nothing to talk about.
But you do have a story.
I do have a Quibi show for us to talk about, which I am going to find. On Quibi. What I've realized, so I was trying to think of like douchey things that I've done, and what I realized is I don't do a whole lot now, with the whole kind of pandemic thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't travel to DC as much, so I don't have opportunities there.
You stopped, licking goalposts and things like that.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And what else? Really, the worst thing that I did, I'm racking my brain here. I ordered like granola on Amazon because Whole Foods didn't have the brand I wanted. That's
there should be a podcast like everything boomers think about millennials, and it should be titled "I ordered granola online because Whole Foods didn't have it." That should be the name of the podcast.
Do you think people would listen to that?
Yes. Dude, like, are you serious? Like, there is the tweets that I tweet out that get the biggest likes are like ripping on like the boomers in my life that call me like disappointing and stuff. Like there is a cottage industry waiting to be exploited of like self, like millennials like basically like coming together to like talk, air the grievances.
Okay. Are you ready for this show?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right. New on Quibi, the show you didn't know you needed. When it comes to sex, Shan knows all, and she goes all in. Sext Shan anything for a chance to get answers to your questions on sex, dating, and love from Sexology with Shan Boodram. Now streaming on Quibi.
That's real.
It is. It is completely real.
Quibi.
Quibi
has ad space on things like the. And by the way, if you want ad space on our podcast, come and get us.
This is how I found this. I'm scrolling through Twitter, minding my own business, searching for people hating on analytics with football.
Searching for other millennials complaining about boomers.
And I happen on a promoted tweet thread, which I didn't know existed, and it's a Quibi tweet thread on sex Shan anything, and I read it and laughed, and I'm probably
Quibi got you halfway there.
Probably not gonna watch it. All right, that was our show. We'll see you on Sunday night. Enjoy the games this week, and be well. Don't eat too much. Peace out, guys.
Thanks for watching the PFF YouTube channel, and if you want to subscribe, all you have to do is push the button. Don't forget everything you get. A little fantasy, push the button. A little green line for the gambling aspects of the game, push the button. College football, push the button. The YouTube channel from PFF.